Well, thank you very much, Jason, and thank you for inviting me to be host of Crafty Crows on the 4th of June. It's lovely to be here and see so many people, so many poets. I'm excited for Kate's feature today and a full open mic, so I better get started with the housekeeping rules. So if you've not been here before, you won't know. So let me tell you. When each poet is performing, we ask you to mute so that we can luxuriate in their words, and you can certainly appreciate them by clapping, snapping your fingers, or saying a general statement of what you've enjoyed afterwards. Love that. The event's recorded, as you've heard, so please only share poems that you are happy to class as being published. If you're on the open mic, poets, please keep to your 3-minute time slot and use the chat relentlessly, please, to let people know what you're enjoying in their words and their performance. We love that. And the Gloucestershire Poetry Society is a volunteer-led society, so please spare a donation if you can, or consider joining with a society membership. And I absolutely know that Jason will put details for you in the chat. Okay, so to kick us all off, I've got a very serious poem about making a cup of coffee. So I'll just start. Is that all right, Jason?
Go for it.
There you go. She made coffee, scooped the aromatic microscopic grounds into the starched white filter paper. She chose a mug, sensing the emotional mood of which lip she wanted to cup in her mouth. She waited, not static, moving and making the breakfast companion of Greek yogurt and berries. She poured the coffee, watching the bronze fluid lighten and steam its cascade into the mug. She added cream. Sensuously, the thick liquid sinks and rises in swirls of white in brown. She drank the coffee, filtering her life into moments of bittersweet reflections and remembered joys. So if you don't like coffee in the morning, hopefully you had a little appreciation of a glimmer of joy that I have every morning with my cup of coffee. So we're going to... Thank you, Gerald. A little bit of appreciation there. That was really nice. Okay, a nice gentle start. And first up on the open mic, we have Consuelo Marshall. Are you here?
Yes.
And over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a poem about a travel stop. And I don't know if you have them in the UK. I'm assuming you do, but they're gas stations, basically. And you go in and you get petrol and you get, they have a shop where you can buy all these weird and strange things. And the truckers can take a shower there. So it's a big, big place, and they have them not all over the US, but that's what this poem is about. And the name of the truck stop is called Loves. And they have a sign that's like 200 feet in the air, and it's neon. Okay, I'm going to read it. What I love about Loves travel stops. What I love about Loves is their vulture high sign I spy just beyond grayish soot and bug wings on the windshield. Red neon letters, long-limbed, dance the swim, sky-wide, sizzle in my brain like a brand. It's a calling for a stop, be it in Cochise or Oracle, way up north on 77. My hand grabs the plastic cup of cubed pineapple, a wooden stick for eating on the road, one hand on the wheel for Steve McQueen. This way station is a haven where I get to kill my engine, slide off the driver's seat, walk stiff-legged, see those big rigs sweep into private lots where they line up perfectly. Sorry. I walk inside under blazing light, past snapping gators on a stick, like the broomstick pony from my childhood. Notice the men's room sign is pitted, worn dime thin. The sign on the woman's brand new. Closing the stall door, astride the toilet seats sparkle. The loudspeaker booms, "Number 77, your shower is ready." I see myself walking up with a new bar of lavender English soap, a blooming yellow towel. Steam rises off bodies shaped by hours on the cab seat. All those cells plummeted again and again by the shake, the shimmy of the diesel engine. Some drivers muscular, their skin cracked and furrowed like a Georgia field. Just like that, I snap back to reality, stare at hot dogs circling on wires like a Barbie's Ferris wheel, get back on the scent to find the strongest brew of coffee, mesmerized as it shoots steaming and ominous into my tumbler. In line, an ashen-haired man grips his classic silver and green thermos, chats up the lovely cashier. In his mind's eye, he is back in Paris, Texas, or perhaps Calexico, at his high school dance, dancing with girls who look just like her. She listens to him with her black-lined eyes, matte wings that sweep over us in line. Thankfully, she doesn't brush him off to wait on us. I ponder love's slogan, "The road connects us all." Makes me wonder if Eisenhower predicted this possibility with his web of interstates finger toggling across this country. Soon I'm back in the car, sipping the best $1.27 cup of coffee ever, switching the car's headlights on and then off, signaling to the purple rig behind me. It's okay to change lanes, get his load back on schedule to the next Loves, the one you know, that one on 3 Mile Lane, bare wisp of town, Muscle Shoals, way up to the north, tolling on the cusp of Alabama.
Oh, that was an amazing journey you just took us on there, Consuelo. And I love the two references to coffee because, you know, there's a theme now going. That was lovely. Thank you so much. Michael Sindler, are you ready? You're next.
Sure. Having had the best $1.28 cup of coffee, I'm ready. That was wonderful. Great to be here, everybody. I'm going to start with this one, which is an older one, actually. Pretty old. It's called Fixed in Sepia. Dear faces fixed in sepia, framed in dust-encrusted gold, hooked memorial upon my wall, standing figures fixed in time and space from an old world now erased, dressed in best fresh-pressed finery, crisp starch crinolines under sturdy black frocks and lace-fringed blouses, thick wool suits suitable for Sabbath ceremony, sewn bespoke by own hands. Proud eyes, slight smiles, fix attention forward, gentle hands firm on toddlers' shoulders. I hold you, long gone, deep in my heart. No gravestones stand to place pebbles on, only ash turned to dust, swirling over European plains, rebuilt over rubble, staining, disappearing, staining, disappearing. Behind this pane of clarified silica, you remain enshrined, evidence of existence, fading slight sight of sad plight of mankind, dear apparitional face of my family, extinct lineage that led to me, my mother's people of whom no tangible trace will carry on, trapped in sepia, trapped in the past. Who will think of you when I am past? And obviously, my coffee has not gotten to the actual pronouncing words part. This one's called Hinder or Approve. This old, bruised, cantankerous heart keeps beating, sometimes irregular, missing the rhythm when it trips on pain or remembers falling over, limping into love. This out of warranty, stretched and sagging muscle still struggles when it takes in how cruel the world can be. This creaking, smoky incinerator where sorrow is sucked up and strained from flow still clunks along, serving purpose a mechanic's touch could not hinder or approve. This heart lumbers into wooden farewell. I'll do one more little short one called We Each Lit a Fire. Searching for light, forced to self-kindle, small fires, warm hands, lend long shadows. Perhaps seen from above, small fires form shimmering rings, their shadows reaching toward the sameness, the essential light we each lit a fire to find. Okay, thank y'all.
That was superb, Michael. Honestly, the first poem I was really taken with the alliteration. Pity I couldn't spell it in the chat, but yeah, wonderful stuff, always. Really enjoyed that. Thank you. Okay, my computer has quite happily just removed the document that I need to refer to. So if you know who you are that is on next,
yeah,
it's Frank. It's Frank. You're on next.
It's Frank, yeah. I'm going to be reading a poem from my new book, The Canticles of Spring. After a walk through Cordoba, Oliva, Naranja. Before us on the table, dos copas de vino blanco, warm chunks of fresh baked bread to dip in oil, golden green and fleck with salt. And olivas, naranjas. My tongue anticipates the luscious tang as I roll those vowels around my mouth. Around us, swifts are ending their long migration. The day replays itself, buds randomly. Our stroll along cobbled streets where ruckled globes hang within reach of balcony and window, or lie abandoned, crushed. A market stall where oranges fill our palms with tawny glow, sweet acidic ooze upon our lips. Later, standing beside an orchard, how difficult on very first sight to imagine how those trees, held in the red, semi-arid earth, could bring those fruits to table. Could one find a way to be inside the trunk and branches, track minutely the flow of sap and sugars? Or compromise, leave home behind for months, adopt some trees and visit every day to search for buds, emerging blossom drifts of scent and white, first thrust of fruit. Immerse ourselves in a different season, cultivate words, acquaintances, friends perhaps, live inside that world minutely, starting each day with an open, empty bowl. This evening, futures play silently between us as we sit in a perfect circle of light without a shadow. Nearby, swifts begin to build their homes. The day has distilled itself to a question which should not go unanswered.
Thank you, Frank. That was beautiful. And deserved a little moment to take it in. Wonderful. This is a poet I've not heard for a while, and I'm delighted to see Jude is here. So Jude, you're up next. Are you ready?
Thank you, Kate. Can I just say, I know your hats are famous, but tonight's hat is magnificent.
Thank you.
I especially like it.
Thank you.
Okay, I've just got one this evening. I could have called this, just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get me. But I actually called it Meditation on States of Emergency. One of my neighbors has a camera trained on all the trash cans in our city street. His commitment to surveillance is surpassed only by his commitment to record keeping. He reports what he records to the city's enforcement officer, the man in charge of trash crimes, like making deposits in the wrong person's can, like not recycling past lives, like leaving outtakes of yourself stacked and rotting at the curb's edge. Another neighbor has a camera trained on the first neighbor, who reported him for poor trash can placement. Neighbor number 2 also makes notes about those who dare to walk along our street, which is a cul-de-sac. Number 2's camera catches anyone who appears to be considering public urination or consumption of stolen thoughts. Also, anyone in possession of untypical for our neighborhood hats or genders or pigmentation. While number 2 records everybody in potential acts, in photographic delicto, in private expressions of grief or despair, while he pins those he has othered as specimens to the styrofoam of his avid hippocampus. All the while, number 1 is deep in his numbered lists, checking names against every ordinance, every offence against the city, against the piss-filled moat of his outrage. These men are enemies connected wirelessly by hope, that someday at dawn, the garbage collectors will break down their neighbors' doors, bind and blindfold the human trash, bundle them toward the incinerators. While number 1 and number 2 prepare themselves to be perfect servants of annihilation, I walk out of my building pinned by intersecting angles of scrutiny. I feel my name scratched onto a list, feel the drag of history follow me into the street, into the city that I call home.
Gosh, all the emotions in that, Jude. At the beginning, I was watching Michael listening, and his reactions were priceless. And then such a, I don't know, poignant ending. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. I've missed you. Nicholas McGaughey, you're next. I will just say, if I'm pronouncing names wrongly, do correct me. I've got no problem with that. I like to get my words right. So, Nicholas, you're next on the open mic. Is Nicholas here?
Yes, this poem is called Lido. It's about going for a swim in my local Lido, and the best time to go is in October at 6 o'clock in the morning, because you go there in the dark and then you swim as it gets light, and then you see who's actually come, and you wish you hadn't gone there at all. Lido. Over the bridge, towards the dawn and the outbreak of birdsong, it steams, mysterious above the ramparts, blue and cream, lit like an aquatic disco, with heads bopping and dipping to and fro. In numbered stables we strip and hightail to the ledge, lowering into the snug brine with a sigh. Coffees are passed to lifeguards, yawning in their high chairs. Like a fat ballet dancer, I stretch along the side, twisting in splits, bending palms in a liquid Tai Chi, until I too join the orbit of gaspers. There are lanes for speed, directions of travel not to be ignored. A mother swims alongside her goggled frog. Rubber caps chatter in the shallows. I flounder in the slow pool with all the other dippers of the toe, who like to gander between easy bouts of breaststroke and conversation. Trees silhouette the lightening sky. The sun daubs leaves and houses on the hillside. A crow fends off a seagull as a late bat loops home. And for a brief half hour, everything looks up.
Oh my goodness. I was going to put it in the chat, the line that I really like, but I just want to say it out loud. The goggled frog. Oh, that's just such a fantastic thing to say. Thank you, Nicholas. Beautifully read. Lee McShane, are you ready?
I am, yeah. Can I just say, can we get an audio book by Nicholas? That was beautiful.
That was gorgeous, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I've got 3 poems tonight. The first one, if you've been on my Facebook today, I was arguing about which one I preferred. I'm going to go with option B for tonight. So this is the first one. Heart Without Borders, Pride Month. Hell yeah. I have a crush. She makes me smile. But that won't change my inner file. Hetero love doesn't wipe me out. I'm still bi, of that no doubt. They scoff at biromantic truth, still trapped in homophobic youth. Just 'cause she's XX and not XY, don't say I've lived a bi-erased lie. I love who sparks my mind and heart, not just the pretty perfect part. Brains win out, they draw me in. Attraction's more than just the skin. So when I share who holds my hand, thought they might match what some demand. Don't say I've chosen just one side. My truth's still valid. Let that ride. Thank you. As I read it out, I am seeing why people chose that one as their favourite. So next one is a nice little one I wrote, I think during a workshop, can't remember. It's called Storm Warning. I wake up each day to weather alerts. Storm clouds huddle above my bed. Thunder claps serve as my alarm. Rain pours for a shower instead. In the kitchen, a cyclone whirls, trapped in a frying pan. A lightning flash brews bitter coffee, but scrambled eggs go to plan. The living room hosts a summer sun, hung crooked in the ceiling's crown. It tans the guests who dare to sit, then melts the candles down. When winter hits, the snow drifts in, piling high on the TV stand. But come July, the heat wave swells. No place to sit, no fan on hand. So let this be a lesson learned. Check listings closely when you rent. Some homes come with central heating, and some with a strange event. And for my final one is, I'd say it's a bit of a comedy poem I wrote when I was in a bit of a funny mood a few months back. Should have stayed in bed. I woke up in a bad mood. I just wanted to sit and brood. I went for a walk, grumpy but cool. Then some little shit pushed me in the pool. I had to explain why I was soaking wet to the Starbucks manager who I joked, it's cold sweat. They banned me right there. No caffeine fix. Little did I know, more gremlins, more tricks. When I walked to my car, the wheels had been pinched. It sat on bricks. Some old geezer yelled, they've been half-inched. Chavs on bakes rode past with ugly grins. Their taunts turned the day sour. I vomited some sins. The walk to work made my wet clothes cling. My boss just laughed. Overtime was his thing. The files piled high, a dull throb in my head. What a bloody day. I should have stayed in bed. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
I know you were very complimentary about the voice, Nicholas's voice before, but yours is lovely as well. So thank you.
Thank
you. I do appreciate the coffee and the water theme that we seem to be developing here. It's beautiful. Yeah. Little change in order now. We're going to go with Katherine Hyslop, if you're ready to read. If you'd like to go next, Katherine. If you want to unmute. Can't hear you, or you suggest, are you able to read?
Yeah, it was just someone else muted me, that's all.
Oh, I see. Oh.
No worries. No, it just confused me, I don't know.
Apologies.
Thank you, Katherine. Yeah, well, this one is, well, you'll see anyway. It's called Joseph's Arrival. Joseph gauged Earth on a sunbeam, though that's not how his mum felt. He flustered toward dawn, crackling his wings, which soon enough yielded to arms. It seemed a slippery approach, which he navigated well and without reproach. Dad wasn't sure about that. Arriving with substance, small digits did grasp. Joseph murmured to his mum and dad, loved and snuggling up close with mum. Avoiding the glare of the staff, he focused intensely on filling his tum. Dad got the measure of his beautiful son. This included his weight, carrying a ton. With car chairs and buckles all tucking in, Joseph's parents so proud. It's how to begin. So it's the arrival of a new little one to the world. And well, I wrote this one in a sort of workshop setting where we did that thing where you do a list and then you try to structure something out of that. So I just called it List. Or you might call it List as in L-I-S-Z-T. Andante resquiver, invention composer, accent or triple, technique, sound ripples. Sonata Amadeus, bridge Chopin nocturne, practice and perform with chromatic improv. Fret. Rallentando, lento, strings conductor quartet, harp onto viola, whistle solo and whet. Sostenuto pedal down, with castanets on repeat. Da capo, allegretto, diminuendo, bow down. That's my poems today.
Oh, that one was so musical, Katherine, that last one. I didn't want that to stop. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. We have our last open mic of the first half before our headliner, and that's going to be, if you're ready, Belinda Rimmer. Are you ready to read, Belinda? You'll need to unmute. Belinda's very quiet. If Belinda's not ready to read, we can go straight to our headliner, I think. Would that be all right, Jason? Yeah, thumbs up there. Okay, so we'll have Belinda in the second half. Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Headliner for today is Crafty Crows. I'm just going to read your bio, Kate, and then we'll hand over to you. So, Kate Potts is a poet, teacher, mentor, and editor. Her new book, Pretenders, by Bloodaxe Books, explores imposter feelings and imposter syndrome through interwoven voices drawn from interviews and through original poetry. Her previous book, Feral, also with Bloodaxe in 2018, was a Poetry Book Society recommendation. Kate lives in Stroud, Gloucestershire, with her son. Kate, the mic is yours.
Thanks very much, Kate, and thanks everyone for your fantastic poems, which I've really, really enjoyed. So this is the book Pretenders, and it's actually quite a tricky one to read from because it's quite unconventional in terms of its form. It's kind of interwoven voices that come from interviews that I did with different people about their imposter feelings. And then there are also my poems, my kind of poems about me or about my life that are, that involve my life or aspects of my life. And then there are poems about historical imposters, so people who actually were imposters rather than people who felt like imposters. And then there are these prose essay fragments as well. So I've actually found it quite hard to read from because it's a bit like trying to read from a novel rather than a poetry collection, because it doesn't quite work. Some of the bits work individually and some of them don't. So I'm going to probably do more introducing than I would for a kind of more conventional poetry collection. First of all, I'm going to read you a little bit from the introduction, because this book really needed an introduction, otherwise it wouldn't have worked, I don't think. So the kind of impetus for this book, or the spark for it, was an article I read in the Sociological Review magazine. And I think the book is quite influenced by kind of, various kind of feminist sociologists whose work I admire. The spark for it was an article that I read by Maddie Breeze in the Sociological Review back in 2017. So this is from the introduction. Failing to meet some definitions of success publicly, collectively, and strategically might expose how feeling inadequate and inauthentic is a function of assessment according to criteria that are not only impossible to meet, but that one wishes to reject. So that's a quote from Maddie Breeze. When I first read Maddie Breeze's article, it subtly but profoundly rearranged the furniture in my mind. I was a poet, an early career academic in my early 40s, and I badly wanted to be a parent. I was trying to navigate short-term and zero-hours contracts and a high-pressure, long-hours work culture, along with queasy levels of global political and economic volatility. Breeze's ideas around imposter feelings chime with British psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott's theory that imposter feelings can point to a tension between the external false self and our true needs and desires. Could imposter feelings, in some cases, be a warning against unhealthy compliance, a bad fit between person and environment, a rift between who we think we are or should be and what we really need? Feelings of fraudulence might, in some cases, be a signal that things need to change. What if, rather than shutting imposter feelings away or overriding them, we were to bring them out into the open and have honest conversations about them? So that was kind of the starting point of the book. So I'm going to read you now basically a chunk from the very beginning of the one of the interview sections of the book. So the book's divided into 4 sections, and the first of them is called Dwellings, and it's about all of the material in this section is about ideas of home and belonging. Oh, you're welcome, Kate. So the first voice here is Lynn. I never actually expected you to call me, so here we are. Do you want the video on or off? The first time I felt like an imposter, it was going to somebody's house who was in my class at school. She and I were quite good friends. We sat beside each other at school and played together a lot. So I went there and I was amazed by their house, much bigger and posher than ours. She and her brother had their own bedrooms, up big stairs, a front room with French windows to a back garden. It was not what I had, but I didn't realise. Well, of course, I realised that I didn't have what she had, but I never really looked at anything quite in those terms. It was an eye-opening situation about where we come from, where I come from, and where she came from was different. I thought, oh, they've invited me here, but they don't know where I'm from. Of course, this is very many indeed years later. I've realised how much it has to do with other people, you know? Other people and the situations that you're in. It doesn't just come in inverted commas, I feel like an imposter. It's much bigger than that, and the contextualization is really important. My mother had to walk me around the streets rather than breastfeeding on demand. That was the childcare wisdom at the time. Deprivation. Deprivation might well come from there rather than not having your own bedroom, sharing with your sister. We can afford to feel sorry for boys who were educated at Eton. They were deprived in a different way to those who were brought up in a home with little space. For me, it's a feeling of inferiority. Even though I know I'm not inferior, it's always that relational thing, you know? Inferior to what? Inferior to who and why? I felt much more comfortable among people who lived in the same kind of housing that I did. Or I felt much more at home with people who didn't belong, you know, from Poland and Ukraine, or who had been born here, but whose parents were African. There was something about them, I don't know, that wasn't fixed, that wasn't ingrained and blind. I've never used those words before, but that's how it was. This next voice is author, and it's one of the little prose fragments in the book. Author. I do the first exploratory interview on Zoom while breastfeeding my son, who is a few months old. It's a sunny, funny chat, the woman pulling pink faces on the screen to entertain my baby. When I send her the interview text, though, she feels exposed. Did I say that? She doesn't want to be identifiable. She's worried about what people might think, how readers will respond. A lot gets lost between live conversation and the page, so I add some small concrete details to try to ground the discussion a little more in physical reality. But these additions sound like my voice. Is this my text or hers? Michelle. I suppose it's the family culture. Don't show off. Children should be seen and not heard. On the bus, my pa would take off his cap, submissive. My parents behave like this when they go out, deferential. Doctors are amazing. Famous people are always amazing. I remember when I went to university, I didn't understand how all the words and systems worked. My friend Gabby, her parents were doctors. She was a real student and I was just tagging along. I always felt that she would know best in all situations there. I don't agree with hierarchies. I believe that everyone is of equal value. So why do I feel inferior? I'm questioning if I actually have imposter syndrome now. It depends on the context. Sometimes you feel like an imposter, and sometimes you think, of course I belong here. Fingers crossed your baby will be okay while we're talking. I can keep making funny faces to entertain him. I could put the elephant on my head. At school, the people who were good at English always seemed to be a bit posh. I remember being a child and playing with people in that direction and thinking, you know, maybe I should be playing with those people in the other direction. Scuzzy knees, knockdown ginger. Some of my friends from my hometown are actually quite middle class for my hometown. When I was a teenager, we used to go to this club, Weekends at the Brewery. It was all the gothy people, LGBTQ people, people of colour. There were only 2 people of colour in my hometown, but they were both there. Basically, all the people who didn't fit in. I think it's also to do with culture and subculture. You discover books and films and you don't want to dress like everyone else. You start wearing funny clothes, leather and fishnets, paint your face like a ghost and backcomb your hair. You go out dancing. It could make you quite snobby about mainstream culture. Peter. There's a difference between feeling out of place and feeling unqualified. It's an interesting flip between the two. You go from thinking, why am I here with these people, to, oh my goodness, I'm going to get found out. It's quite a subtle thing, but you can start humiliating yourself fairly easily and start feeling small. And yeah, it's a curious sort of curious sense. I can hear you, yes. Are you outside? It's a bit windy. That's better now. Where are you walking? I remember going to a swimming lesson. I think I was 4 years old, when I was living in Swindon. I remember the turquoise and white checked tiles echoing and screaming, and lots of kids standing in a row, and the assumption was from the teacher that all the kids knew how to swim, and I had no idea what I was doing. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, the teacher thinks that I can do stuff that I can't. This is a horrible feeling. And of course, in a swimming pool, it's literally sink or swim. If you can't swim, you can't swim. There was no way I could fake it. I remember that feeling very strongly. I didn't think in these words, but obviously I'm here under false pretenses. I had a really sort of mixed childhood. I might have mentioned this in the questionnaire, sort of this mixture of growing up in a sort of very middle-class family who do lots of reading and, you know, middle-class cultural pursuits, but living in a really tough council estate. And in primary school, all my friends were estate kids. I really liked that, but it led to this sense perpetually that among my school friends, I obviously stood out a lot. Among my parents' friends, I stood out a lot. Tiffany. We lost everything. My father went back to Australia, so I developed sort of daddy problems. And there were class issues, going from a middle-class house, rose cottage, cream with lattice windows, and moving into the tiny terraced house on Cowper Road, having been evicted. I mean, it was really traumatic stuff. I had a sky room with a ladder. I could look at the stars. But my father's room was dreadful. It still haunts me. The thick green walls and the box bed he slept on. It was too short. I could see this from the landing, his long legs over the edge. And he was smoking, the green and the smoke and the two long legs. I realised what we'd lost. But do you know what? The word illusion comes into my mind now. I remember talking about this with one therapist and my borderline personality disorder. My father was a great storyteller. He was a great man in many respects. He made his own money, sales, property development, made his own business. He came from nothing. He made up stories all the time. He loved to exaggerate. He could spin a story on the spot, often embellished anecdotes. He once told hosts that I could play everything from Mozart to Beethoven on the piano, which wasn't true. He was proud of me playing a tune for them. He invested in Armani suits and ties, accessories, to give the illusion to investors that he was still prosperous. Okay, I'm going to stop that there. And I'm going to read a poem from this section. So each section kind of consists of these interwoven voices, and then some of my more standard kind of poems at the end. So this one is called Dwellings. I lived in a tall, thin house. There were guns in the basement, disco angels in the attic. We made murals of leaves on the kitchen wall with our small handprints for leaves. At night, I dreamed of foiled or thwarted escapes, a giant fist pulling me back. When I made it outside, my feet pistoned furiously on the pavement, but I stayed rooted to the spot. When my niece makes a den, sofa cushions, chairs, a throw over the top, she wants us both inside it, fugitives breathing into the warmth, even though my limbs are enormous and I risk collapsing the structure. It's a womb, and she wants us in it. Once in a house, I watched myself from a high, cobwebbed corner, 2 low beds pushed close, the plastic shower cupboard, slit of courtyard window. Our bodies were slung together like pink insects, skinny-legged, spawning. He was probably thinking of his future children, their glorious biceps, or nothing. I was a bruised cicada, pinned bird bones. I lived in a house with damp in its marrow. You could see your breath. Cracks lengthened and bled when the freight trains rocked past. The other woman who lived there was penitent. She wore black and ate cabbage soup. The front door swelled and stuck with sour clouds of her tears. I escaped through the kitchen window. Along the canal path, the hillside swings into view. A man steps out onto the fire escape of a repurposed warehouse. We see each other and space opens up. The air is birdsong. When televisions were dark, thick boxes, did I think of them as enchanted dioramas, holding people, landscapes, shrunk inside them, puppeteers' gloves manipulating under the cloth? Once I lived with two men. We stole a cat to get rid of the mice. I loved my giant wrought iron bed, but I couldn't keep up with the house and all its excretions and spillages. In the garden, roadkill rotted in buckets and rats swarmed over the vegetable scraps. Once I lived 6 stories up on the high road. I came off the pill and took bitter herbal potions to make my periods come. Bed bugs stuck to my wrists like bloody pearls. And once I lived in a kind house. There were pints of tea, there was karaoke at dawn. My bones thickened and I grew strong and tall, like a tree firmly planted by streams of water. And my leaf did not wither. Okay, I'm going to read, how am I doing for time? I'm going to read, actually, another little section of interview from the next section of the book, which is all about work. It's called Work, Work, Work. This is Michelle. She says, "What is it you do again, Michelle?" "Well, I'm called a lecturer, but you know, I'm really a bit of a fake. I dust my palms on my jeans. I'm even uncomfortable with the names that you're called. Maybe I'm not a real one. I feel slightly embarrassed to say that's my job." "What's a lecturer like?" "More authoritative than me, a bit more serious, maybe posher than me, maybe without a Welsh accent. That's really daft, isn't it? It's interesting. Ooh, I got a little smile. Are you waving, baby? Can you see me on the screen?" If something goes wrong at work, it's a big drama. It hurts more. Whereas if I had more confidence, it might not be as bad. I don't know, I'm speculating. It's that internal narrative. Well, you shouldn't really be doing this job anyway. That's what happens when you get out of your depth. It's such a complex phenomenon, really, isn't it? Just how shifting it is. It's made me reflect. I went to a staff development session on unconscious bias. I thought, should I be here? Because everyone else there was quite senior, but then one minute I feel like an imposter, the next I think, I know more than you do. Okay. So I'm realizing as I read this how apt it is for Zoom readings, because I did so many of the interviews on Zoom. So there's all these references to microphones and video. And this one was one of my poems about redundancy, because I've been made redundant lots of times. And this also has Zoom content because I got made redundant via Zoom in the pandemic, which is probably my least favourite redundancy. Anyway, coping with redundancy. In the visualising your future session, I imagine a tightrope walker at the circus. The soles of my feet are chalky leather. I whisper sweetnesses to cajole the rope. Below is a sea of wide eyes and open mouths. There's no safety net. Every step is a bargain with calamity. That sounds very pressured, says Michaela. This morning I mistakenly walked into the room opposite this one and asked, "Is this the coping with redundancy session?" 7 or 8 white middle-aged men were drinking coffee, their limbs and papers splayed over an enormous oak table scattered with empty cups, half-eaten pastries, gnawed fruit. The walls were panelled with what looked like maple. Make time for hobbies, says Michaela. Some people find meditation helpful. Enjoy small wins, embrace the bigger picture. Co-trainer Martin's approach is more direct. Remove negative emotions from your cerebral cortex. If they surface, like ferrets, whack them down with a mallet. It began when I noticed my work allocation dwindling like grey bathwater draining away, or my work being given to shinier colleagues. When I tried to contribute in meetings, my voice came out of my line manager's mouth as if he was possessed. I asked my line manager, what should I do? He said, just keep tidying the database. He is using the staff hours freed by my departure to make himself full-time head of I'm in charge here. Redundancy is just an acceleration, Martin says, of our inevitable progress towards decay, our entropy. And aren't we all, in the end, rotting or carbonized meat? You might notice your cells depleting. You might feel your energy leach like a slow drip, like a leaky faucet. Thank you so much for all your hard work and dedication. We really appreciate your work, the way you did, the work that you did, the HR manager will say in the final Zoom meeting. And then her giant face filling the screen, frozen, lunging for end meeting. So now I'm freelance. Which is, yeah, it has its challenges, but yeah, I'm not going to get made redundant again, which is nice. So I'm trying to read poems that I haven't read so much from here, rather than going over the same things. So I've got, I think I'm just going to do one more, which is from right at the end. So this is Sinead, and this is the last interview section in the book. And then there are a few poems at the end, but I've read those in lots of readings, so I'll do this instead. I have very, very mixed feelings about self-reflection. Sometimes being bad or in the wrong place is quite positive or creative, or just acting on instinct, not constantly double thinking oneself. It could be freeing. We could all behave better towards each other and make life easier for each other. That is very true. Like a campaign to make women not feel like second-class citizens. That would be good. I guess hierarchies are part of the issue. They thrive on some people feeling a bit less than, doubting their abilities and what have you. I suppose most of our institutions tend to be quite hierarchical, and we probably fall into patterns of hierarchy in lots of situations. So I think we're all conditioned by these unconscious things. If someone is leader, other people tend to think of themselves as less than, whereas it could just be that their life lends itself to leading at that time. I think I've said it, I keep repeating myself. But if you've gone to a certain kind of school, you will be in a certain bracket of achievement. And if you are white, you will have a certain privilege that people of colour don't. So, you know, it's all set up for people to feel that they have to place themselves on a scale of belonging. How do people not internalise that, see beyond it, do what they want anyway? I'd imagine there's a number of things there which have to do with early childhood experience or personality, but they're very powerful. The social structures are hard to break. We've changed very slowly, and it's great when someone does buck the trend or whatever. But I guess it's quite useful to a certain section of society if another section is not competing with it. Imposter syndrome is quite a useful means of social control. It's really bad, yeah. I'm not advocating for it at all. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Probably don't send me the recording. No, I'd probably cringe at the sound of my voice. It's always surprising, isn't it, when you see a transcript? You think, did I say that? Oh, it's starting to rain outside. Oh, hooray. I'm going to end there. Thank you very much.
Oh, Kate, Thank you so much for sharing so many different voices and perspectives. Everybody, please come off mute and give a warm round of applause to Kate, our feature poet. Thank you.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you. That was really a varied set there, Kate. Tremendous.
Yes. Some of it very close to home, having been an HR director in a previous life. I was that big face across the table. I felt very seen in a not so lovely way at that point. Okie doke, folks. We are at the end of the first half, which means you've got time for a break. So there shouldn't be any queues at the bathroom, I shouldn't imagine. Yeah, we'll see you back here in 5 minutes' time. I don't know if Jason keeps us recording or whether we stop it, Jason. Thank you so much, Jason. And what a brilliant first half and wonderful feature from Kate Potts. So the second half order is in the chat. I'm just going to do a couple of announcements, I think we've got here. Yes, we have. And a poem myself, and then we'll move on to the second half of the open mic. So the announcements, I want to just draw your attention to the fact that July's Crafty Crows feature is Deborah Harvey. And then in August, it's Dee Allen and Genevieve Ray. So looking forward to feature poets in the next 2 Crafty Crows. Please make sure you come along. You can see that Jason's just put information about the open poetry competition, which opens from the 1st of July to 30th of September. It'd be brilliant to see some of you put some entries into that. Okie doke. I've decided to read a bit of a spoken word sort of performance poem for you, and I did have it on my, did I put it on here? Yes. Can you hear that sound? It's a mother's unshed tears as she fears for the days her kids are bullied and their feet grow faster than inflation, so the shoes that should keep them grounded are too tight to keep them upright. She longs for sandals in summer when toes are exposed and can grow, and she can feel like she's not a failure. Can you hear that sound? It's a father's frustration at a nation of politicians that make working hard never pay the bills, from a wage that's stagnated whilst the drip down economics is a joke that no one is laughing at. And the leaking of tears come with shame, and he blames himself for never being enough. Can you hear that sound? It's a child's laughter, choking in her throat because she can't compete with the privilege she's supposed to compare herself to, and she disappears into a cycle of hurt. If only she knew she wasn't alone, but her phone is a false friend that reminds her she's broken before she's even grown up. Can you hear that sound? It's another deposit in a bank account offshore, securing the money for those who have too much already, keeping it out of circulation so that mums and dads and kids live in poverty in one of the richest nations in the world. Can you hear this sound? It's my heart beating with passion, making words that will be heard by those who already care enough to speak up. So speak up. Speak up, because spoken word is a cascade of emotion that strips down the politics to basic human rights, and we all deserve to be heard. This is the truth of community. We don't stand on ceremony. We stand for those who can't stand up for themselves, and this is something to believe in. Okie doke. Well, welcome back. Bit of passion and emotion I felt was appropriate after the biscuit interim poetry I did, which hasn't been recorded. Belinda, we're going over to you if you are available. I'm looking
Yeah.
to see. There we are.
The first poem is called The Power of Bathing Suits. The heat of a day trip, my friend kissed me. I chased her across pebbles, then spinning and rolling into the waves. On the train home, to the growl and gallop of wheels, we pressed our hot faces to the glass, watched the world speeding past, and dreamt of hidden corners. Now my friend is too sick to mention kissing. I harvest rhubarb from her garden, bake crumbles, pies, jams, compots. Between sleeps, she licks pink strands from her lips, saying, "Send food parcels to wherever I am gone." She gives me her cuckoo clock to hang above my desk. It chimes often and beyond the tick of hours. Not Wordsworth's soft, spontaneous shock, but a reminder of sorrow. I can recite it back, pitch perfect, me cuckooing into the still air. And then the second poem is called Scoot. Made from long forgotten toys and bike bits, my scooter arrived on the doorstep, big and clumsy. My father hoped scooting would put meat on my bones. I got the hang of it straight away. I'd clatter down curbs, flatten daisies, and crisscross empty roads. Sometimes I'd carry foot passengers, mostly teddies or an occasional obliging cat. In the rain, my scooter cried blood, trickles of red paint and rust. No one coveted my wonky pram wheels, chewed rubber handles and tinny bell. For years I scooted along, not caring if skin peeled from elbows, stones embedded into knees, or bubble wrap blistered appears on palms. I had the means to go between the field and the estate, the shops and the subway, my house and friends, and to go alone. My father would watch from the window, hands either side of his head in defeat. However hard I scooted, I still wore my bones.
Thank you, Belinda. We're so pleased you were able to get on the mic.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a way to start. Next on the open mic, we have Kathryn Southworth, if you're there, Kathryn.
Hello, thank you, Kate.
Okay.
First poem is called Magnificat for the Lady on the Scaffolding. Miss Martin is building her own scaffolding. Michelangelo of Angeltown, Brixton. You can see a wrench in the pocket of that virginal pale blue overall dress. For she has no assistant but her sister Madge, one of 9 Irish siblings. And the master mosaicist is not one for modern studio techniques, but practices the direct method of the ancients, learned from visits to Italy, paid for from her own purse, though she still lives at home, laying the tesserae on panels of beeswax and linseed. Now she places the blue Venice smalty for Mary's mantle halfway up to heaven, and she'll trust no one but herself for the face of awe and fear and love, as the mother collects the puzzling tributes and ponders all the mysteries in her heart. Miss Martin is building her own scaffold, but with her next commission, her purse will be filled. When her saints in the Palace of Westminster take the eye of Mrs. Churchill, who'll make sure she gets her reward with a government pension. So raise a lily for Gertrude Martin, for her lowliness was exalted. And the second short poem, fallen Medusa. Made for shock and awe, the terror now is her own. You see it behind the eyes, turned inward in despair, beneath a brow churned like the sea, and more tousled than writhing, the waves of her hair. Her cruel mouth is so voluptuous you want to rub your finger over it to part the lips. And across her face, running from cheek to nose to cheek, a crack so final, that last indignity of stone, it is as though her heart could break. Thank you.
Oh, yes, what an emotional last line. Thank you so much. So, who's next on the open mic? Well, I
think it's my good self, Kate.
It
Cathal.
is. And
Yeah.
I'll hand straight over to you.
Well, first of all, thank you to Jason for inviting me along here tonight, and to you, Kate, for emceeing so well. Thank you, everybody who's read and who will read after me. It's been a very enjoyable evening. And what a wonderful way to spend a June evening. So thank you all. Okay, my poem. It's called The Pillar and the Fire. The Pillar and the Fire. My mind's cargo has shifted in its hold, the soul's furniture rearranged. The certainties that were so rightly held left me as a seeker estranged. From the pillar seen darkly on the plain, the way ahead is crimson fire. There is no journey back that I can claim that might give way to some desire to see again somnolent fields of ease where feet of clay may dare not tread, and sojourn there has overstayed its lease. The compass lies true north ahead. I am a traveller to this new place of dreams and possibility. There are no masters of this time or space, but gods of sky and of the sea. Sail on towards the Isle of Ithaca, where Helian heat cools to rest, and there faithful Penelope awaits her Odysseus home upon the tide. I see the fire, not the pillar of stone. I seek the fire, not the pillar of stone. Creation held within its gyre, the deaths of stars of ages come and gone, a lost note sung upon a lyre. There you have it, my friends. Back to you, Kate. Thank you for listening.
I don't want you to end there, frankly, but thank you. That was beautifully performed. You could squeeze another one in, you know.
Well, if you like, I will.
I think you should.
But I do have my second steaming cup of coffee here as well, and in due salute to your good self. Well, okay, I'll just give you one more, if I may. It's called A Copper Sky. I can see now how imagination can catch the familiar and the unfamiliar, like a fleeting beat of a butterfly's wing glimpsed at the outer edges of vision. Not quite in range to turn the head, but near enough to register with the mind's eye, summer's breeze warming to coolness, with my eyes closed, can be a lover's sigh. The heft and sweat of silage making, fermenting fodder, vinegar sweet, my first time on a friend's farm, young and eager to show my strength to endure. Clugnacailleach, hill of the witches in royal Meath, I climbed to their cairn, breath sweated out with each step, the stones cool to the touch, merging with the myth of ancient lore, hammered against a copper sky. So there you have it. Thank you for allow me to read a second poem.
Oh,
and back to you, Kate. And
delighted. It wasn't just me either. There was more in the chat. So yeah, that was brilliant. Thank you.
I'd like to hear that, and thank you.
Lovely stuff. And Andy N, you're next. Are you ready?
Oh, you know me, Kate, by now. I'm always ready, right? So it's been a great night tonight. Always well hosted by you, Kate. Respect to Jason, running a great night. And there's been a lot of people here tonight. Some will know, some don't know. It's been really, really decent night. I've been aware of Kate's work for a couple of years now. Never seen her read before, and I'm certainly checking the book out after this. Excellent stuff indeed. Okay, I'm going to do one new poem on, well, straight right now. One old one, one new one. And it's following in the sequence I've been doing a bit of recently. This is from my last poetry book called Changing Carriages at Birmingham New Street, the first one. This is about a couple having an affair. This is through the eyes of the man. And anyone who knows Trumpton from the 1960s, 70s TV show may like this. And this is plain Trumpton cover versions with Freddie Phillips at the edge of Stonehenge. Wandering through the countryside, whose idea was it to stop just outside Stonehenge and sit there that afternoon, picnic and acoustic guitars in hand and recreate Freddie Phillips's work on Trumpton? It was never he lived anywhere near there, but you just wanted to sit near Stonehenge with my cassette recorder lying next to my car, determined to learn a few of his tracks in a slightly slower key. After you told me when I stumbled on Twee, when we went through the fireman's drill, then I started playing Windy Miller's song afterwards, smiling silently to myself, after realising that I drunk way too much for you to get much sense out of me by then. Mr. Farthing, Mrs. Honeyman, and Mr. Swallow, I tried keeping up with you, stumbling around my fretboard, imagining I was a genius, when in reality I was barely an amateur, frost furred next to our car in a blanket, looking slowly at the sunset. The past feathers in our hearts, counting notes again, in the dawn of the nearby fields, music from our childhood, drawing us both together again, burying our guitars under our emotions, our love into barleycorn. That's the first piece. Right, this is where it gets a bit more complicated now. The next book I'm going to do is going to be telling the story through Sarah's eyes. I've done about 10 poems on this, so we'll see how quick it gets coming together. And this is Sarah's version of the story. And the book will be called The Other Side of New Street. Rebuilding Myths at Stonehenge. You always needed a myth to explore, didn't you, Andy? And an audience. I went with you to Stonehenge because I loved you, not for Trumpton or his music, not because I'd play guitar, well, maybe 3 times in 20-odd years. You never asked what I remembered, not the chords, just expecting me to follow as you turned your tuning like it was a ritual to keep the past from slipping, with the moonlight and Stonehenge standing close together. I was cold. You were drunk, and the fire kept going out until finally you passed out. I walked to the village to get more firewood. You thought we were building something, a song, a moment, a kind of sacred stillness. 2 different visions of the past merging to make something new. Now, when I hear Trumpton, I don't think of you. I think of how quiet it was when the tape clicked off and how I didn't press play again after we got back home. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Wow, that's a different perspective on Trumpton, Andy.
I know,
Hear
that's
the
me
music
for
in
you.
my head.
Me
Yeah.
for that.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed that. Okay, so after Andy, we've got Lou Clements. Lou, are you ready?
I am. So lovely to hear everybody. It's all just such a joy, isn't it? So I never quite know what to choose. I've just you did a poem about time earlier, so just a very quick one about time. So a friend of mine lost her son far too young, who also happened to be my daughter's boyfriend, and I wrote this poem for her, which I never shared. But time isn't a great healer. Time doesn't numb the pain, but its passing moves me closer to when I'll see you again. Here we go. Just sums up her. Yeah. So most of my poems are sort of frivolous and light, really, with a bit of an edge. So that's why I find it a challenge to know what to choose. So this one, I was having a cheeky Sunday breakfast in a cafe recently with my husband, and either side of us were 2 tables of mostly women. And I couldn't help but notice they all had shiny, frozen foreheads. And I wrote this, it's called Frown. I've become obsessed with foreheads, wondering, have you had yours done? I'm all for self-expression, but this way, you're left with none. So what exactly are we doing here? I don't remember it being said that the way to enlightenment is with the smoothest head. I thought it was a warm demeanour or a cheeky grin, an engaging mind perhaps, not rigor mortis of the skin. So gather round, my friends, leave your Botox on the shelves. Be proud that you're the last generation who still look like themselves. Yes, my face and I are parting ways as it's sliding to the floor, but surely just a little filler will leave me wanting more. Unleash your personality, forget about your face. Don't blame it all on social media, we know it's a disgrace. Yes, I'll keep my chin up and firmly pointed to the sky. Let gravity be my liberator as time insists on ticking by. You state that it's empowering as you give me the hard sell. You say, it makes me happy, but from here, to be honest, it's pretty hard to tell. Have I got time for one more? Is that okay?
The answer's yes.
Okay, thank you. So I read this one, I had writer's block, which was a bit of a shock to me. And a friend of mine who's a life coach said, it's okay, don't worry, it'll come back. And the blockage was cleared in an unusual way. I had to pop out one lunchtime to get a pint of milk from a local shop. It was about 2:00 in the afternoon. And as I queued up at the till, there was a woman in front of me, probably about my age. I hadn't paid her much attention, probably because she was about my age, but until I heard her ask very quietly for half a bottle of vodka. And the guy popped it down on the counter, and she swiped it so deftly and tucked it in her coat. It was almost as if it hadn't happened. And I just found myself wondering how she got here. So I wrote this. It's called Breathe. I wonder how you got here. Were you dealt an ugly hand? Did life throw everything at you? Did all the punches land? I wonder which path you took and if you tried your best. Did you need to drown the noise out with no quiet place to rest? Did you gamble on a loser? Was another door slammed in your face? Had the darkness compacted you when you just needed space? Did no one have your back when the rug was pulled? Or was it just a little shove that caused chaos to be spilled? Could you only breathe when their backs were turned, so no one knew to gift you the peace of mind that you deserved? No friends to fight your corner, did it all become too much, as good luck shrugged its shoulders and dropped you in the dust? I barely noticed you slip salvation in your coat. The shot at redemption would soon be sliding down your throat. As I glance away respectfully, pretending not to see, I say a quiet prayer to misfortune as it had forsaken me. There you go. That's it.
Thank you so much, Lou. Really enjoyed those. Wonderful stuff. All kind of bittersweet. There's kind of mix of emotions going on. Really lovely. And we're in for a delight. Jason, he of the hat and the secret technical excellence going on behind the scenes. Jason, you're up next.
Thanks, Kate. What a wonderful night. Wonderful set by Kate. And as usual, a sterling open mic. Thank you, everyone. Two brand new poems, workshop related, and kind of grief and nostalgia related. The first one has got a lot of Potteries dialect in, so follow as best you can. You were the stuff of legend. In Castle, chat is golden, rich as thick gravy slick, mopped by clumps of bread, or dripping drenched rounds, lubricants that kept folk going till it were time for one. Baps and loaves were made by champions. You and Paul made eyes at Champion Bakery, instigated by you throwing bits at her to catch her porcelain attention. Soon you grew hungry for each other, hungry as hot plates for oatcakes that sizzled from the hole in the wall. Your castle, our castle, was 7 Poplar Grove, where you tied your staff's knot and raised 2 rate princes. A grove the shape of a Wedgwood vase, steeped in Greek mythology, on the lounge mantelpiece, surrounded by a battle of colour and kitsch the gods would envy, where I got lost in kaleidoscopic daydreams. Dad, you, like so many local men, were Hephaestus, strong and warm as Stoke brick. Your Athena was seamstress, assembler and baker. Me hometown, born from proper graft, is where your echo now remains, loyal as the limes flow. Bloodline of the town, that still runs true as thick gravy slick round plate, mopping last drip like it were ambrosia, like my memory of you. And my last poem. A broken sonnet from Castle Crag to Derwent Water. I walked along a giant's cheek, skin of slate, rock and moss, cheekbone lined in heather, wiry brow of ash and pine. A hillside sniffed the weather, it sloped to socket voluminous, to an eye of shimmered cobalt. In awe I gazed at he who rests, blinked and saw my father's face, and in that dream I wept. Gone, but not forgotten, this scape became your shape, the day I shook the ground with the weight of a lake. Thank you.
You took us all out there into the wilderness. It was beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have Sarfraz Ahmed. Are you ready?
I am ready, yes.
Look at you ready. Over to you.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, so I'm going to read from this book. Guys can see it there. The Ramblings of a Romantic Poet. And the reason I'm reading it because I don't know if you guys do this, but sometimes you go and visit your old work. So this is a couple of years old, but I've been reading it as if I didn't write it. So I'm going to read two poems if I can. And they're both small. This one's called The Stars. Over the years, I've collected stars from the sky, caged them in my ribs, left them to dry. In the darkness of night, I let them out one by one. I see the moon and the sun. The planets orbit and propel me, light up in my room, flicker majestically. In the darkness of night, I rip them out of my chest. I close my eyes. I'm taken to far-off places, across galaxies, to far beyond. I will show the stars to the beautiful and divine. Let them sparkle and shine. I will show the stars to the one that will one day be mine. Thank you for listening. Yeah, okay. So a very small smidgen of a poem called The Nape of Her Neck. Nape of her neck. Tender to the touch, soft to the core. When he pushed away her hair, he knew there and then he wanted more. Of the softness, the delicate touch, the nape of her neck tasted sweet, perfumed, strawberries and cream. He closed his eyes, dived into the dream. Thank you for listening. Great poetry tonight, guys.
Thank you, Sarfraz. And isn't it interesting when we go back and read poetry we've written ourselves and get that new perspective? Thank you for telling us about that. We're all now going to go dive into our back catalogues. Maybe.
Maybe.
Who knows? Okay, Graeme, it's you next on the open mic. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Hello, good evening all. We've got two poems. The first one I've literally called That Label. That label did not stop me, the one you decided to place around me. That one you wanted the world to know would always cause me problems. In fact, it made me want to try to prove that you were completely wrong. You told me that I am dyspraxic and that there would only be trouble, that I would never understand, or so slow it would not be worth it. so clumsily that Kells must always follow with every turn I make. You had already made up your mind that I was never worth the problem, breaking apart the dreams I had in order to bring them crashing down. But just you wait and watch me go, so that I can make this life my own, as I have learned to adapt my ways in order for them to succeed. Creative endeavor that led to happiness instead of wanting a status, embracing the quirks that only I have instead of hiding them away, finding work that fulfills my needs instead of your worldly wants. That label you chose to place around me will mean nothing to me now, as I have learnt to embrace myself in every single shape and form. Distraction has made me strong because I chose to make it my own. And the second one I've got this evening is simply entitled Quiet. For the love of being quiet, there is value in its worth. There are moments when nothing happens, nothing will move in order to disturb. Giving time for sitting still, to put the mind in order, or at least remove the parts unwanted, giving them to the air in order to disappear. Now the mind is clearing, the body can relax, taking the tension from the shoulders, removing it from the body, into the air dispersed. So there is love in silence, emptiness in the air, the quietness that takes all that is given in order to revive the soul for all who take the time. Thank you. That's my two for this evening.
Well, I really enjoyed those, Graeme. Wonderful. I always love perspectives around neurodiversity and differences. Thank you. Oof, we're having such a delightful variety of poetry tonight, aren't we? Oh, Gerald, is it you next? It is. Are you ready?
Is it? You had 5C on your list before me.
Yeah, it's been updated that I posted it in, so if 5 is stable, so.
Okay, I just wanted to check we were.
Let me have a quick look.
So I changed what I was going to do. As Kate was reading, I looked up an old poem of mine, and I don't think many of you will suffer from this, but I do, and this is called Locker Room of Mistakes. And I've got to read it off my paper because my BT won't send it to this computer for some reason tonight. In my locker room of mistakes, there are 100 lockers, which each hold 100 mistakes. The keys to the lockers are kept in 100 pockets in a coat which reaches to the floor. Sometimes I go into my locker room of mistakes and by mistake take out a key and open a locker and find at the bottom of the locker, between 99 other mistakes, a mistake I'd forgotten, which is often larger than I remembered, or so it seems when returned to it so many years later. Of course, I put it back, assuming another dozen haven't fallen out afterwards. But it won't always fit like it used to. And anyway, I cannot forget that I've opened a locker in my locker room of mistakes, that room I usually avoid, which is right at the back of where I live, in 100th tower, up 100 stairs. If I'm honest, I've been thinking of blocking it up, but you need planning permission or building control or something. And I'm told by those who've tried that it's difficult to get through. And even if you do, it rarely works. Best not to store up too many more mistakes. A worthy aspiration, I tell myself. But somehow it never quite works. So that's for people like me who build up their mistakes. And I'm going to do one. the book I was in called We Are All Palestinians, and one of the poems I had in that was this one, and it's called Footsteps of Jesus. I was on my when you go on Google and you get a whole load of stuff comes up, and there was one that said, "Following the footsteps of Jesus, biblical sites you can still visit." I was impressed with the word "still" there. Thought it said so much, and I wrote this poem. It's about a year old, but it's become even more important. So there you have it. A list of sites you can still visit where Jesus went. Looks like Bethlehem's out, and Gaza. Maybe not Jerusalem, if you look like Jesus did, Palestinian. The thing is, I don't want to go where Jesus went. I'd rather do what he did. Love my neighbour, turn the other cheek, give to the poor, heal the sick, and raise the dead. Except that these days that's a long list, 50,000 and counting in some places. All I'm saying is that following in someone's footsteps is usually a metaphor, not a fact. And even if it were a fact, the metaphor still counts. Wouldn't it be better to identify a list of sites to stop bombing? Maybe we could start with the ones where Jesus went. Thank you. Let's do those two tonight.
Thank you, Gerald.
And that one's in my book called We Are All Palestinians, which is a complex. I'll put a link in the chat for it.
Super, yeah. And as Gerald's just said, if you've got links to things you want to share in the chat, please do. You'll have seen Jason's been popping things in there as we've been going along. Sometimes I read them, sometimes I don't, as you've just seen, because I'm sorry that I missed 5C out. You are next on the open mic, and then we're going to finish the evening with Marieta. But I will just say we will have a little bit of space. So if you have been listening but would like to read, there could be space for you to do that. So please just mention that in the chat. 5C, are you ready? Over to you.
I am. I'm not used to being called 5C, more usually 5, but that's
Oh, 5.
That's fine.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Appreciate
My surname
your
does begin
correction.
with a C, but
Okay.
yeah. So I've been away for a few months on a Buddhist retreat, but so I just came back, and you're talking about back catalogue. I just looked through a sheaf of poems, and funnily enough, the first one I want to read follows rather well from Gerald's, really. And I wrote it when I'd seen on the news about a shooting in a church, and I thought it was so appalling that people, it's in America, I think, that people, would shoot or throw bombs in churches and things. And I looked on Google, and this was quite a revelation. There are literally hundreds of occasions where people have been shot in church or thrown bombs. I was absolutely staggered. So this is called Lemmings Crusade. The gateway to heaven, shot in a church. The quality of mercy is thin on the ground. Faith ferments fundamental discontent. Praying's a fool's game, held in contempt. Worship in a temple to the bomb or the gun. It's a sermon of hate against all of Christendom. Thy will be done by a suicide missionary. Real jihad's your own spiritual struggle. This beats thuggy, it's human sacrifice, an improvised device to hit them where it hurts. Religion, like cancer, attacks its own church. God knows we're upstanding, bomb-fearing folk. We pray, we're shot. Is this the will of Allah? It's no way to follow the creed of the curse. The flock's gone mad, the sheep have turned wolf. Black banner unfurled, it's a lemmings crusade. Flayed with the pain that passeth understanding. Christ healed, forgave, turned the other cheek. Muhammad never said to gun down the meek. So having done that one, I thought I found another one that's quite different. It's just a very short, whimsical love poem, really. It's called Our Place. Darling, there's a place we can be sure where we're sequestered from the chase. No terriers at our heels the more. We'll not be pestered. It is so, the less the merrier. How can I know? My dear, it's clear. Life holds no promises, leaves no trace. It's now. Our place is here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you getting those from your back catalogue and sharing them with us today. Okay, so Marieta, you joined us. We'd love to hear you read. Are you ready?
Yes. In the chat, I posted the link. I have 2 poems published in Sparks of Calliope. Memories. Our love mixes with seaweed, a sweet memory. Sprinkled with salt, it grows between the breeze and the hurricane, the fruit of an inner struggle. The green waves crash in a murmur that cools the warm and ancient sand, limits perception. New tides of change cast our minds back, the courage to exist. In the space between ancientness and nowness, our perfect love is eternal, a song for a dance, an invisible one, and the wave-like movement on the shores of our hearts. We can feel our holy angels, wounded wings, echoes of a distant cry. In every salty breath, a prayer and a promise. Between freedom and serfdom, we fathom our dodecahedral geodesic spiritual sphere out. The reality is circumjacent, contiguous eyesight. The voice of God becomes an echo to inhabit the twilight world. And the second one, entitled Echoing Shells. Bleeding shadows seemingly run away, disappear into the blazing sand. Wet rays heat the skin, change the meaning of the colors. A new song cannot be heard. It is not born yet. Waves covering dead shells, lost steps and destroyed castles echo with the inner silence. Battleships are eaten imperceptibly by the horizon. The gales remain to scream in the blue while bringing ghosts to the shore. There's a new time in the old one, all is different. Nature seems to be the same. Suffering brings peace in an invisible way in this need for love. Thank you. Sorry for the phone.
Thank you, Marieta. Your beautiful words transcended the phone, don't worry. That was lovely. Thank you. We are absolutely overflowing, didn't we say tonight, with beautiful poetry and wonderful poets. We have got Scott, who will be sharing a poem as well. So Scott, if you're ready, you can take the mic.
Here we go. I have 2 very short poems. It's less than a minute and a half, both together. The first one is entitled The Lady in the Mirror. The lady in the mirror strokes back her hair. A dark sea swells between her fingers. She settles like snowflakes into stillness. Stillness aches before the dawn. The dissonant chink of an iron bell in the antique clock in the kitchen cleaves her thoughts in the falling, hammers iron to the bone. In the instant burning, in the slow turning, the lady in the mirror resigns herself to the falling, and the falling has no end. And the second one is entitled Dieppe. 2:15, and you wondered if your body were a breeze or a breath of moonlight. If your children drew on the tide in the harbour, or the dew-covered garden in their dream work. They lay like feathers in a single bed, and you, at once, the lady in the window, and the woman moving down the cobblestone lane to appear beyond the bulwarks and pilings, blending step upon step your own colour and form into that nightscape. Thank you.
I really loved the way you performed those, as well as the depth that you were able to express in so few words. That was wonderful, Scott. Thank you so much. And we're going to finish off this version of Crafty Crows with Frank has said he has a small final one to offer us, and we would definitely like that, Frank. So please, last up on the open mic, it's Frank.
Okay. Love song. My hand upon your rib rises and falls as your breath moves along the pillow, falls and rises as light enters the room discreetly. This day is an egg ready to be hatched, but I say stop, wait. I'm still within the ebb of night, petals on waves, fish bones, the water's dialogues and whispers. Wait, as we lie within our globe, this in-between time, when the weight of the world is a feather, and we are simply the fall and rise of breath and touch.
Ooh, what a lovely place to land. I want to thank Jason Conway for being the mystical, magical maker of this technical event behind the scenes. Thank you, Jason. Kate, that was a stunning feature. Really, I'm a business poet, so I really enjoyed the business perspectives that we heard there that we don't often hear. So please buy Kate's book. And all you open micers, you just brought such a variety of words, emotions, and I'm feeling really soothed by the poetry I've experienced here tonight. Thank you, everybody. It's been an absolute delight to host Crafty Crows. Consider dropping a little bit of a donation if you've enjoyed tonight, or becoming a member. And final thing, Jason did say I could mention that we have a Prickly Pear open mic that I co-host this Sunday at 7 p.m. If you've enjoyed being having me as your host, then come along on Sunday and we'll do it all again. Thank you, everybody. Really enjoyed it. Give yourself a round of applause.